गुड मॉर्निंग इंडिया एंड वेलकम टू गना शॉर्ट. गना शॉर्ट में आप सबका स्वागत है. Today we are going to talk of something very interesting. The failed doctrine of Pakistan. It has moved, Pakistan sought strategic depth in Afghanistan, and today it is facing a strategic blowout. Let me put things in perspective. What is the strategic depth all about? This was put together by Mirza Aslam Beg, who was then the chief, their chief of army staff, and it was the architect was Hamid Gul. Hamid Gul was the ISI chief. So what did they do? They felt that Afghanistan would give them strategic depth in case of an attack by India, and they would operate from that strategic depth where India couldn't reach them. Their depth was to make India, their training camps, their everything inaccessible to India. And that they felt could be achieved if they had a regime which was favorable to them, and they managed it. Of course, the whole base was provided by Ziaul Haq. And at that point of time, this was something which was, well, out of the mind for everyone. And it troubled India for a long time. But then, even then, we knew that this is going to blow out one fine day. It's taken its time. It's taken 15, 20 years, but it has blown. It has blown significantly. And this is what we're going to talk of today. What is the effect of this strategic blowout? We're not interested in retracing the history of the strategic depth. That's a failed strategy. All their militant camps along the Durand line, their hideouts on the other side, especially in the Paktika and Paktia and Kunar province, where these people are carrying out strikes all over. Helmand, we know that story completely. But how is this blown off? That strategic blowout is what we're going to detail today. We're going to detail how this has happened. And what is the fallout? What is the current issue with Pakistan? What does Pakistan face? At one point of time, it thought China will, follow Pakistan's footsteps, or China and Pakistan together will rule Afghanistan. That's not happened. They never thought that Russia will make an entry into Afghanistan. After all, Pakistan, while seeking its strategic depth, fought a war alongside USA to push the Russians out in the form of USSR. Today they're coming back in. And of course, India has also made a reappearance back in Afghanistan, like they never thought they would. Even we never thought. 2021, when the Afghan forces had ejected the US forces, or this unseemly withdrawal which took place, I never imagined that today I'll be speaking of Afghanistan in these terms. But be that as it may, what has happened? 3 days back, we know that there was a Rangers headquarters in Karachi which was attacked. By whom? We don't know. Is it by TTP? Is it by anyone? We don't know who it was. I mean, nothing is clear. And there are a lot of deaths, both sides. The figures are confusing. But be that as it may, it was an organized depth in the heart of Karachi, or organized attack in the heart of Karachi. The fact that such tactics, such attacks, terror, militants, freedom fighters, call it whatever you want, could carry out an attack in the heart of Karachi itself is an indication. And earlier, these attacks used to be carried out in Islamabad also. They've been done, but in a different manner. Right. So this happened. And yesterday night, the Pakistanis carried out attacks along the Afghan border. They've carried out some ground operations. The details are not clear. They've carried out air operations. And where? At Paktika, Kunar, and basically these three provinces. And these are the ones which just abet, what shall I say? Pakistan. And this is a figure which was, this graphic was put out by one of the Pakistani handles as if they achieved, something. Now, this is very funny that here is a power which is trying, or Pakistan is trying to mediate for a peace between USA and Iran, and it is prosecuting a wanton war against Afghanistan. Something which people are not, it doesn't gel. And what's more, of late, for anything which happens in Pakistan, it's the Indian hand. That's the problem. And that's the problem which we have to. I'm not going to go into the details of this operation. No. The point is that everything is conflated with India to the extent that, look at this fellow Khwaja Asif. He's a motor mouth. No, not an issue. But the fact is, he's a defense minister and he talks whatever he wants and in a most stupid manner. But look at what he says, because this has got an impact on how we're going to deal, or the kind of Pakistan we're going to deal with.
दिल्ली में और काबुल में इस वक्त कोई तफरीक नहीं है, हमारी ख्वाहिश जरूर है, तो फिर जो दिल्ली के साथ हमने किया वही हम काबुल के साथ करेंगे इंशाल्लाह.
So he says दिल्ली और काबुल के बीच में कोई फर्क नहीं. So for him, whatever is happening in Kabul, whatever is happening in Afghanistan is instigated by India. And then he has the stupidity to say, whatever I do with Delhi, I will do with Pakistan, with Afghanistan. What did he do with Delhi? Got kicked on his ass. But this is the delusion in which Pakistanis live. They live in a delusion that they defeated India, that they sorted India out. And of course, the greater delusion is these days that, we are the, people who make peace in the world, and we are close to all powers. Little they realizing that none of these powers will come and help them. And the second part of the story is, for the past 3 days, I've done a series virtually on what's happening in the Indus Water Treaty and what is this middle power and all that, everything which I've explained, right? So now the point to note is this. If you see their cacophony about that Indus Water Treaty, you see this cacophony which is now coming out of Pakistan regarding Afghanistan and India, and you see the issues which are happening in POK. The question which we have to examine is, will Pakistan instigate a war against India or not? Or what will it do? But that is a thing for another day. But today we're going to understand this failed doctrine of Pakistan. You have to understand this because it's got larger implications.
Delhi.
Okay. They've directly accused us, and our official response is very clear. Right? We have said, don't be silly. Okay, and these are baseless allegations against India about whatever has happened in Karachi. And we have rejected them. That's what Randir Jaiswal, our official spokesperson of the foreign ministry, has said. Right? And Pakistan would do better to look inwards, take credible action against the terror infrastructure. That's what he is advised. But Pakistan won't do that. Let's be very clear. Pakistan is not tuned to do that. Okay. Now, the point is, how do you analyze the latest situation? I don't analyze it by the kind of attacks and all. Let's do it intellectually. It's better to approach to approach this problem intellectually through the prism of people who are analyzing this, and then see for ourselves what we need to do. So in this, this lady Francesca Marino, she's written a fantastic article. It's a real marvel of an article, and I'm compelled to go into that article, and that will give you an idea as to what's happening. And then, of course, I'll discuss a few other issues. She says Pakistan spent years cultivating a movement, and now it's crying conspiracy because others are doing openly what Islamabad did covertly for decades. That is, talking to the power in Kabul. Okay, for a long time, anyone who had to speak to Kabul or Afghanistan or whoever was in power right, for the time when Mullah Omar was there or all that, they had to speak only through Pakistan. And we were all dependent on Pakistan. And Pakistan, of course, was hostile to India. It was bargaining with USA, and it was holding China to ransom in some manner. And it kept USA out. It had all the cards. Today, everyone is talking to Afghanistan and Kabul except Pakistan. That's the strategic blowout. And that's what we're going to detail today through this lady's excellent article. It gives very clearly the Afghan reckoning, how Pakistan lost its strategic depth. It's not only lost its strategic depth, it's getting a strategic squeeze. It's getting squeezed strategically. And people need to understand that. Now let's look at how Pakistan has viewed this entire game. Okay. Now, whatever India does in Afghanistan, it is viewed as encirclement, subversion, or aggression against Pakistan. Let's get that clear. Can they do anything about it directly? I don't think they can do anything about it. Just like we were troubled when Pakistan was doing whatever it wanted in Afghanistan. Pakistan was doing whatever it wanted against us in Kashmir. We had to be defensive. Same way, Pakistan cannot be aggressive against India, but it can go hybrid. That's the problem. How does it do hybrid asymmetric warfare is a question which will come out at the end. I'm putting that question up ahead. Indian diplomacy is a threat because Pakistan's own doctrine, the Afghan doctrine, was built on denying Kabul strategic autonomy. It's a very important thing. It never allowed Afghanistan to deal with the world. It isolated the world from Afghanistan, and it also isolated Afghanistan from the world. And the only way Afghanistan, whatever was there within Kabul, had to reach out to Pakistan and deal. That's gone. Indian wheat, medicine, engineers, assistants, or diplomats, all is now seen as a plot in Pakistan. It might well be a plot. But the fact is, we have gone past that. If Afghanistan talks to Russia, it is a hostile axis which is developing as per Pakistan. Okay? If Afghanistan insists that the Durand line remains disputed, right? Pakistan has discovered Afghan nationalism. But the thing is, this Afghan nationalism has always existed, but that is not acknowledged. Why? Pakistan used Afghan nationalism or the sub-nationalism along the Durand line, not now, from long back, 47. This nationalism and this tribal nationalism was diverted. When things were going bad, Jinnah first diverted it in 1947 towards Kashmir. Who came to Kashmir first? Tribals. Who are those tribals? These chaps only. Afghans. Or the Pashtun tribals. I will not say Afghans. Pashtun tribals. They were the ones who came to Kashmir. How did 65 start? It started with tribals coming into J&K of Gibraltar. Same story. They used these chaps in 71 war also. But it didn't get highlighted because the action was that side. So thereafter, when they realized that they couldn't use these people towards Kashmir beyond a point, they went into their place. So at every point of time, they used the same Afghan nationalism to fight against the as Mujahideen, to fight against USSR. Right? So if you see this whole story, Afghan nationalism has always existed. The Durand line problem always existed. But Pakistan got around that for all these years. Today they have no place to go. The Durand line remains disputed. But Pakistan says no, it is not disputed. The Afghanistan or the Afghans feel it is disputed. And Pakistan has a problem. Pakistan refuses to acknowledge the fact that the Durand line and Afghan nationalism has always been existent. If you don't recognize the problem, there's no solution. And that's what Pakistan doesn't understand. Right? Pakistan is not being encircled by India, China, or Russia and Afghanistan. No. It is being confronted by the ruins of its own policy. Right? Now, the TTP is an explosive contradiction. Why is it an explosive contradiction? Because the TTP was born from the Afghan Taliban. And who gave birth to the Afghan Taliban? Pakistan. So, in a way, I wouldn't say in a way, in a very overt and manner or a very clear lineage, the Pakistan ISI created and Ziaul Haq. After all, it was Ziaul Haq and then followed by Mirza Aslam Beg and Hamid Gul. These are the guys who created the Afghan Taliban by establishing a lot of seminaries and madrasas along the Durand line. There was this Quetta Shura, the Peshawar Shura, and all those shuras were there. Nothing new. Okay. Now, from there came the TTP, which was the Pakistan Shura. No one acknowledged it, but today it's a problem. Okay. Now they're accusing the Afghans of sheltering TTP. The same Afghans are now telling Pakistan, yeah, it's a domestic problem. You created the problem in your country. We wanted shelter from you. You wanted help from us. I mean, from you. You gave it. Thank you. But you spoiled your country. I don't blame me. What do I have? In any case, what does Taliban have? He's got nothing. He's got nothing. Now, what's the recent phenomenon? China is trying to mediate between Pakistan and Afghanistan. The Afghan Taliban. There was a talks carried out at Urumqi. Why? Because China is now will get destabilized. If this problem isn't contained, the problem will go via Gilgit-Baltistan into Xinjiang, and it will go via the Wakhan corridor back into Xinjiang. ETIM. And we'll talk of it a little later. And China is worried about it. So they don't want a Durand line, which is hot, firing going on across the border. Is it between Pakistan and Afghanistan? Is not a problem for us. It's a problem for China. As far as that border remains unstable, China faces a problem, which very few of us understand this. So if China faces such a problem, all the best to it. Because China was part of the problem. China never helped India. In fact, it helped Pakistan and it assisted Pakistan in whatever it was doing on the Durand line in seeking strategic depth and everything. Today, China is saddled with the same problem. Not only that, it's CPEC, regional connectivity, everything is at risk if there's a war between Pakistan and Afghanistan. It's not a matter of just the CPEC going through Balochistan and all that. It is also a matter of the connectivity China seeks from Afghanistan. We'll talk of China separately. Okay, what about the Durand line? Let's talk a little bit of the Durand line, because the problem is the Durand line. It will not run away. We know the Pashtuns are divided both sides of the Durand line. We know that. We know that there will always be problems on the Durand line. It is not now. We knew it. The Britishers knew it. After all, you see their Afghan campaigns. वो पिक्चर भी आया था ना हिंदी में, सारागढ़ी. 4 Sikh. Earlier it used to be 36 Sikh, right? 4 Sikh is the battalion. I played basketball also in that battalion even now, and it's called Saragadi. They went and fought there, last man, last round, which Akshay Khanna enacted. Failed campaigns. Both the campaigns are failed campaigns, and one of the campaigns, Afghan campaigns, is you read the Battle of the Kut, right? One of the classic battles where of failure of military leadership, and Norman Dixon's famous book. Read it; it's detailed there. The Britishers learned the hard way. The Pakistanis are learning the harder way. Right? Norman Dixon's book, incidentally, is called The Psychology of Military Incompetence. Read it, because the Battle of Kut figures in that, in Afghanistan. It's being repeated today by Pakistan. Now, the point is this: no Afghanistan government, as far as the Durand line is concerned, whether it is monarchist, whether it's Republican, whether it's communist, whether it's Mujahideen or Taliban, have ever accepted the Durand line. Even when Taliban was being given shelter in Pakistan, they said, we'll sort out the Durand line later. First, we'll push the Americans out. They pushed the Americans out. Now they're sorting out the Durand line in their way. Because there's a Taliban this side, there's a Taliban that side. They'll not let each other go. Because tribal loyalties are higher than national loyalties. These lines are artificial constructs done by the Britishers. Now, Pakistanis are, they love the Britishers. That's why they keep going to UK. Okay, that's between UK and but there's a problem. The Taliban may be Islamist. You might find any problem or anything about Taliban you can say. But the fact is, they are also Afghanis. They are Afghan nationalists. They run the government of Afghanistan. Why will they let go? It's their way of thinking. They have stopped behaving like Pakistan's provincial proxy. Pakistan always thought that Afghanistan will become their 7th province. That's their larger dream, the greater Pakistan. What did the greater Pakistan dream think of? They have their 4 provinces, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. They have earlier Northwest Frontier Province, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Sindh, Baluchistan, and Punjab. So, what is the greater Pakistan? Gilgit-Baltistan converted into a province. POK converted into a province after annexing Kashmir. And complete Afghanistan being the 7th province of. That's their thinking. And Taliban or the Afghan government, call it what you want, are refusing to be Pakistan's proxy anymore. Now, Pakistan expected that after nurturing this Taliban for so many years, that they'll get gratitude. A gratitude which overrides the history of tribals, territory, and power. Who will give power up to Pakistan and these stupid generals? No one will. You think Afghanistan Taliban will? They want power either also. That's a form of theocracy. That form of theocracy and what's happening in Iran is not much different. Same. Theocratic government. I'm not saying that the governments are identical. There's IRGC and all that here. No, that's not the point. Here, Taliban and Haibatullah Akhundzada, he's running a theocratic government. He doesn't speak much. He doesn't come. He doesn't make any pronouncement, everything. But whatever he's doing, the government and the Afghan government is following. And everything goes from there. And it is power. Why will he give up power to Asim Munir? Does Asim Munir realize that I'm sure he realizes it, but he can do nothing. And that is why all this raving and ranting by these 2-bit Pakistanis. Let's look at China. When this war ended, everyone thought, oh, China will come tomorrow into this area. Pakistan and China will rule Afghanistan forever. And the CPC will go there, railway lines will go, roads will go, mines will be dug. Pakistan will, enable China to get minerals out of theirs. From those minerals, Pakistan will do whatever it wants, China will whatever it wants. Now that the Americans are defeated, where is all this narrative gone? It's gone where? Now there's a contradiction in this. And this contradiction is something you have to understand, all of us. We have to understand, all of us. Pakistan wants China to see Afghanistan through its eyes. But China has started seeing Afghanistan through China's eyes, not Pakistan's eyes. It has never seen Afghanistan through Pakistan's eyes. Pakistan was only a conduit. China has its own policy. Pakistan could never control the Wakhan corridor. The biggest problem for China is the Wakhan corridor. Why is the problem in the Wakhan corridor? Because the Wakhan corridor, which I've shown maps so far, don't have a map, but the Wakhan corridor is the entry, and this Karakoram highway is the entry, where there are 6 countries involved. You have China, you have Pakistan, you have Afghanistan, in fact more. You have Kazakhstan, you have Turkmenistan, and you have Uzbekistan. They all have borders. In fact, I've been to the Kazakhstan China border. Desolate. There's nothing there. Just hills for far distances. You have nothing. In that area gets destabilized, China can do very little. Then the Chinese forces will get stuck there. Then what will happen to Taiwan, and all that? So China is very, very, very touchy. Why do you think they came into Eastern Ladakh? You think they came for fun? Because that little road which we made from Tangsei, DSDBO road to DBO, that is Tangsei, Darbuk, Shiok, and DBO road, which went to Galwan, Shalwan, all that. That road has got tremendous strategic significance because you cross the Karakoram Pass, you're into that bowl where all these countries are a few hundred kilometers away, and that's the far end of China. It is something happening in Kibitu. Half of us don't even know where Kibitu is. Why 80% of Indians don't know where Kibitu is. I would, in fact, take a bet 90% of Indians don't know where Kibitu is. Something like that. And if trouble enters that area, if Islamism enters into that area, Xinjiang is gone. If Xinjiang goes, Tibet goes. China is very worried. Pakistan sees Afghanistan through its eyes, but China sees Afghanistan through its eyes, not Pakistan's eyes. And Pakistan wants China to see Afghanistan as Pakistan's property, and China is not prepared to do that. That's what I said. China's interests are broader than Pakistan's insecurities. Pakistan is insecure, but China's insecurities are even further. Why? A small rebellion in Xinjiang will shake Xi Jinping up like nobody. In fact, I will put it this way. The Asim Munir and his government will take on this problem better than Xi Jinping will if there's a problem in Xinjiang. They don't have the capacity to handle it. They can only handle it with brute force. They're worried about the ETIM. I'll come to the ETIM a little later. China needs working relations with Kabul. Chinese guys have been killed in Afghanistan. They've been killed in Pakistan also. China knows that their actions are not liked by people on ground. China can be very, very good with governments and this and that, but not with people. People to people contact is zero. And China will not outsource their Afghan policy to Pakistan military. And especially since Pakistan military itself has no control over this area. Pakistan, once thought they'll be able to manipulate everything over all these forces, but today it can't. These are facts. Why is China worried about Afghanistan? There's a big worry. ETIM, East Turkestan Independent Movement. Now, this East Turkestan Independent Movement had gone out of Afghanistan, went and started working in Syria. With whom? With this Al Jolani, who is now the head of the Syrian government. So when that Syrian independence or revolution took place last year, and we spoke about it, ETIM has now come back to Afghanistan. Now, these Muslim fighters, they're all Muslim fighters, and this ETIM did a very good job there, as per them, or as per the Syrians. Now, these are all these band of people have their own loyalties. So China went to Afghan Taliban and said, no, don't allow them in. They said, okay, we'll not allow them. But when they started appearing, they said, no, you do. He says, no, we'll not do anything. Now the Afghanis are holding China to ransom. Okay, you pay, otherwise I'll let him do what he wants. This is pure blackmail. China is getting blackmailed by the Afghan people or the Taliban government. Now Taliban government is blackmailing Pakistan also. So now China suddenly has realized that यार ये पाकिस्तानी तो कुछ नहीं कर सकते. 21 तो we were saying बल्ले बल्ले, अब बल्ले बल्ले is gone to balls. So there's a problem China is facing, and they are not prepared to accept the Pakistani way of doing things. So there's a problem there. You might say CPC 2.0, CPC 6.0, they'll go, all this is nonsense. Nothing will happen. Now the point is the interests of Russia, India and China intersect in Afghanistan. We have all our interests there. Everyone has his interests. So the Afghan Taliban knows all these interests. They're not fools. So they're handling all three of these countries the way they want it. What does Russia want? I mean, this is again interesting. Russia wants security depth in Central Asia. And they want diplomatic leverage in a post-American Afghanistan. They've always sought it. Did they get it? They've got it to some extent. They're increasing it. They don't want Kazakhstan, they don't want Turkmenistan or Uzbekistan or all those stans to go up. Kyrgyzstan. They can't afford that. Already it is Russia which came to, came down, Russian forces came down into Kazakhstan few years back. Okay? Few years back when there were problems in Kazakhstan. 2 days or 3 days back, Kazakhstan and USA have signed a treaty. Who? Between Donald Trump's son and an entity in Kazakhstan. For what? Tungsten. Okay. Now Russia is jittery. What is Kazakhstan doing? Kazakhstan has taken China. It has invited some part of Afghanistan in some manner. It has invited Turkey. It has invited USA. It has invited Russia. And everyone in Kazakhstan is talking. The way Kazakhstan looks at it, they say, look, we need everyone around us. Everyone's interest is there. So we are in balance. We don't want to now go under Chinese influence or Russian influence or US influence. So far, we could survive without, we could not survive here so far without Russian influence, but they want to shed it. That makes Russia jittery. No, that is why it wants Afghanistan on its side. The erstwhile Russian republics, or rather SSRs. After all, these were all, what was USSR? United Soviet Republics, no? Socialist republics. It was a union of all these. So the Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, all these stans were all part of the Soviet republics. So it wants to protect that. So it has to reach out to Afghanistan. That is why the Soviets initially came down into Afghanistan and invaded Afghanistan and put their chap in Najibullah, who was hung. And on a personal note, Najibullah, the president, was hung. Another guy who was hung next to him, he was a guy who did, he became a major general. I'm talking long back. When I was a major general, this fellow was a major general. When I was a major, he was a major general in Afghan army. And he was on Najibullah's side. And he was hung along with Najibullah in Kabul. Okay. Now, what does India want? We want to ensure that Pakistan does not again create strategic depth, and we need our routes to Central Asia open through Chabahar. If Pakistan now goes back into the strategic depth story, and you have a hostile China out there, what about our routes to Central Asia? So to Chabahar, Central Asia, and Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, and Turkmenistan, all these stans, Uzbekistan, all these stans are important to us. Why? Because Kazakhstan is the country which has maximum uranium, and you need it for your energy. It has got oil. Okay, you have to understand this mentally. Okay, we don't want Pakistan to monopolize this space anymore. In 21, everyone said, no, we should not deal with Taliban. We should not deal with this chap, that chap. I said, yeah, what are you talking? It's time to start talking with them now. The concept of Taliban has changed. This is not the Taliban of that time. So if you have to speak to them, you can't speak to them through Pakistan. You have to speak to them through Iran. So Iran is important to you, Chabahar is important to you, and Afghanistan is important to you. And then you can put pressure from the north so that they don't look this side, Pakistan. Would we like to have a Pakistan which is looking only to India? No, we want them to look that side. Let them look that side so that from here you can kick their butt. That is the reason why Kashmir we have bought peace by supporting Afghanistan. I mean, it's common sense here for everyone. Right? So you see the interest, our interests in Afghanistan are huge. Plus, we have a connect with the Pashtuns. The Taliban is very clear. They came to us to work, that their foreign minister came. He went to Devban, he interacted with Devban, he interacted even with ladies here. He had a press conference with only ladies. He is prepared to change. Why should we not change? We have changed, in fact. Today we have a tremendous thing. We hosted their cricket team for so long. Faridabad mein Afghan cricket team was in Faridabad. India is the only country which plays, cricket test matches with Afghanistan. We just had one. Our relations are at a different level. What does China want? They want minerals still. But how much they'll get, we don't know. I've spoken enough of China. And none of these countries, whether it is Russia, India, or China, or even USA, USA still got an interest in Afghanistan. It controls the purse string of Afghanistan. Money is with USA. They still want to get into Bagram Air Base to control Central Asia and, pose a threat to China. None of these big countries needs Pakistan's permission, and Pakistan is sandwiched. That's why they find it difficult. Saas nahi le rahe. It's difficult to breathe. And they have riled up the Afghans. Every time you carry out an airstrike, 100, 200 people die, civilians die. So you'll get a problem back. That problem will never run away. And every time these cross-border strikes happen, right? You will find the problem in the Durand line will only go up. I'm explaining all this because things are hot now. Now, why? Look, think for 15, 20 years, why more than that? This whole story finished in 21, 22, isn't it? Actually, 23. I, it's not with that US withdrawal, but I'm talking of 23, 24 as a benchmark. All these stories of strategic depth and all started in the 80s. 40 years, there was no border. Pakistan felt there was no border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. It was only one because they thought that that is their country. So a lot of Afghans came to Pakistan and they settled there. Not only one, the first generation came, probably the second, and the third generation was also born here. These people who came were born here had no connect with Afghanistan, but they were not Pakistani citizens either. They never got Pakistani citizenship. Over 23, 24 onwards, Pakistan is driving them out. So these people, about 10, 15 lakh people, where will they go? They've gone to Afghanistan. What does Afghanistan have? Nothing. उकाड़ के फेंक दिया, ठीक है, फेंक दिया. So now you think those chaps can go deep into Afghanistan and survive? They can't. They have to be all along the border. So what has Pakistan done? This side of the border, they have a problem with the TTP. On the other side of the border, they have people who know Pakistan well, who stayed their entire life in Pakistan and who are gone there and settled. They are all against because their entire life has been uprooted. So Pakistan has created about 100 kilometers this side and at least 100 kilometers that side. That's my reckoning. A band of people who hate Pakistan. And it is in this area that TTP is operating, Al Qaeda is operating, IS is operating, and Baluch people are also operating. And it is in this area Mr. Trump wants to go and get minerals out. That's a different story. Balochistan border. That strategic depth has produced a strategic blowout. Okay, it wanted a friendly Taliban, it has got an Afghan Taliban. It spent decades trying to preach realism. What did it got? Peronia. It wanted to exclude India, it got India in full return. It wanted China as a guarantor for its actions. Now it suddenly realized China is not supporting them. Beijing has its own interests. That look, this last line I'll read it out because that's very interesting. The tragedy from Islamabad's perspective is not that others are conspiring against Pakistan. It is that Afghanistan has begun to behave like a state. Very interesting. Today I've spoken about all this thing based on this structure of Francisca Marino's talk. I thought it was one of the best articles I have read. I said I have to explain all this to you because if you read it, you'll not understand it without the explanation I'm giving you. But you leave this out. China has been aligning with Afghanistan despite the risks. And it's a calculated engagement, but it's a huge strategic dilemma for them. What do? China has a huge problem. We don't understand. You think China does everything? It doesn't. What does China do with that Bakan corridor and this Karakoram highway and people getting in, ETIM getting into Xinjiang? They can do nothing. There's a copper mine called Mes Aynak, which is the northern end of Afghanistan in the border with Kyrgyzstan. Okay, Kyrgyzstan or Turkmenistan, whatever the border is, along the Amud area. Okay, Amud area is the border. Now, Mes Aynak has been with China on a lease for a long time. But so far, not 1 inch of copper, not 1 gram of copper has been taken out from there. And that's on the border, not interior. Why? Security. China's problem is if they do anything, they'll get hit. If they don't do anything, they're in a problem. And China doesn't have the wherewithal. We think that China will do this, China will do that. China doesn't have the capability to go and take over Afghanistan. And China has never set its foot outside its country. China won't do what Pakistan has done or USA has done or what India has done. We also have gone sent troops to Sri Lanka and all. We've dared to do. We failed. That's a different story. We learned a lesson. We do CIA, all these. We fight wars. Pakistan, I'll say, is more adventurous that way. At least they're sending people to, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan. They're doing all this. What does China do? They're bloody scared. They can't fight. They're worried. If they go there, they'll get stretched. And see, again, you have to see China through everything through politically. Because if something happens in this area, Xi Jinping will fall. That's the problem. Please understand China's strategic dilemma. What about Russia? I've explained the whole thing. What has Russia done now? They want to get into a MOU with the Taliban. And just think, if Russia gives a few shoulder-fired air defense weapons to Taliban, which they'll get any day now, I'm very sure. One Pakistani aircraft goes down. That's the end of Pakistan's story. And it will happen one of these days. Any of these days. Right? And there's another interesting phenomenon. Ever since Taliban has come off, the poppy cultivation here has gone down drastically, which Americans couldn't do for 20 years. In fact, if you see the poppy cultivation in Afghanistan before the Americans came and after the Americans left, it had doubled. The Taliban have reduced it. They paid a cost for it, but they have reduced it. They are very pragmatic that way. Now, if I have to talk of India, they are reaching out to India because they see India as the only one who is prepared to give them anything. No other country is prepared to give them anything. And whatever we seek is within their capability to give, and they can give it at no cost. All they have to do is keep Pakistan at a distance. वो तो वैसे ही कर रहे हैं वो. If you help him, he'll do better. So we'll help him. That is why we are giving them wheat, we are giving them medicines and everything. And that is why you want Chabahar. If you want Chabahar, Iran has to be your friend. So all our chaps who say, oh no, we should support USA and not Iran, rethink. This is where the success of India's, I said at the beginning of the Iran and Israel war, Iran-US war, that under all conditions, India will win. We are winning. Don't look everything through money. Even that way, we are winning. We are getting our oil, we are getting Chabahar, we are getting Afghanistan. And interestingly, Afghanistan has helped Iran. And they are completely backing Iran in this. Iran's fight against USA. Now, the thing is, there's not much difference between Iran and Afghanistan. Only thing is, Iran has got oil, which Afghanistan doesn't have. Otherwise, they're both battered economies. They will cooperate. They will need us. So, overall, you will see that we will win. But again, I come back. Pakistan. We have to do something to ensure Pakistan's tail is cut because it's wagging too much. Will they come to fight with us or what? We'll see. If they fight with us, well, give them a spanking again. These days, there's a lot of narratives, like I said, that they have defeated India, that they can defeat India. There's a lot of narrative about, what they're doing to Afghanistan. Everything is anti-India, mind you, at the end of the day. But Pakistan today is at its most vulnerable. I've spoken to you. it's the middle power in the middle of nowhere. They are making a huge hype about Indus Water Treaty. Yesterday only I did that video. Please hype it. Please hype this video also. There's a hype button. Press that hype button for all, so that people hype this video is hype to everyone. Also see that one yesterday I did on Indus Water Treaty. And what about Pakistan's own water problems? Their problems, they're trying to topo on us. All right. So I thought I'll detail all this and I'll continue. I'm not going to let go against Pakistan. Because Pakistan had the audacity of speaking against me and my army chief. Pakistan had the audacity to, put a fake video about me. So I will put a real video about Pakistan and I'll make Pakistanis speak. At the end, I'd like to again thank Francisca Marina for her wonderful analysis because it set a thought process. That's the structure on which I've spoken.